What's up, YouTubers? Brad here with the Geek Report, and in this video I'm finally done with my custom built gaming PC. As you can see, I made quite a few modifications to it than out of the original box. Some of this was last minute things I thought about, but today I'm going to present to you the, I guess, official name Vault-Tec PC parts inside make no sense in performance, but I'll show you what I'm talking about in a minute. So, with the physical tour of the outside, this is encased in the Silverstone Raven. I think it's RVZ02. This is a great mini slim form factor mini ITX case. So up front, take a look here. You do have this trap door here, which is very nice. You can slide it down, and it is a pain. It's not because I painted it. It's always just a pain. And reverse to your front I/O. You got two USB 3.0 ports, a headphone, and a microphone jack. Down here you have a reset button, which takes a pin or a paper clip to push. You have your power button here, and you do have an optional optical drive here, which I probably will install later. I just didn't have one on hand at the time. Now on this side, these doors, this side and this side, these key sides are interchangeable, so you can change them around. There's no right or wrong. The model I have has a window side view here, which I didn't particularly want. I wanted a solid black because the black, the one with the solid piece has mesh in front of the air intakes, and this one doesn't, because it would. I understand why, because it would obstruct the view inside, but at the same time, you got these massive air intakes here with no filters whatsoever. So if you're working in a very dusty environment, this case really is not for you. It will suck up anything, especially if you have a high powerful graphics card and a good CPU cooler that just sucks massive amounts of air in. So, as you might have noticed, that this case is not the typical black. Pretty obvious right off the bat, that is a custom spray painted case. And yes, this is spray paint. Actually, I'm going to let myself a couple of days ago tell you how I did this. And while I was spray painting it and doing and making modifications to it as far as the painting, I recorded vlog style type snippets here and there of the process. So I'll let myself 2 or 3 days ago explain how I got this finish look the way it did. So guys, here we are. I'm going to show you the steps I did to get the computer case looking like it did in my video. So the first step is, well, I did this. I wanted to show you, I got these nice decals off eBay, and you can see what one looks like before I stick it on here. If you look very closely, I have lines marked where the decal needs to stick, so it's nice and centered and it's not off centered. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to apply the first base coat, and I'll show you what color that is. So I'll walk over here to my art supplies. Made a trip to Home Depot, so I got this rustic brown looking color to add a little bit of rush, you know, the weathered and beat up look. So this is my base coat. It's Rust-Oleum hammered. It's a very silver. I can get a better close up of. There you go. It looks real weathered and beaten. I like the look, and I think it's gonna give it a cool effect. So I'm going to walk back over here, and I'm going to peel this off so it's going to look just like this one here. And yes, to do this, I'm in a older greenhouse. I live in New England. It's cold outside, and the only place it's hot enough is inside a greenhouse. So yeah, so here we go. Alright guys, so I'm back, and I got the first coat on. It looks like it's going to take 2 or 3 coats of this paint, but you can actually see what it's going to look like on the side panel here. It did spray thick enough in some parts on the first coat to really give it that look, and I'm very surprised that it actually looks like the lid. I don't know how they do it, but it looks awfully cool. And see if I can zoom in here. See, that's actually what it's going to look like, except across this whole panel here. And people are like, why are you painting over the Vault-Tec sticker? Well, the sticker's there because I'm going to keep the base black as the Vault-Tec logo. So that's why I'm keeping it there, and once it dries, after I get done doing the base coat, I'll peel it off, and you'll have a very nice detailed Vault-Tec logo right there. But you can see this paint, if I can get the focus here, is awfully cool looking. I don't know how they get it to make that effect. I guess the particles of the paint and how they come out makes it, I don't know, but it's going to look really cool when I get done. So there's the first coat, and I'll tune back and I'll keep videoing my step-by-step progress of this. And hopefully you may want to do the same thing to your case or not, but I think it will look pretty cool in the end. Alright guys, so I'm back and I finished painting the first layer. As you can see, it actually turned out very nice. It actually looks like the lid, which is very surprising. But I messed up on this one pretty bad, as you can see here. I peeled these stickers off a little bit too early. I thought the paint was dry enough, but apparently it wasn't. And on this one, it came out just about like I expected it to. Very clean and neat edges. I do have a little bit of a bleed here, and you see along the edge here I got a little bit of a bleed from where the paint got under the sticker. That's not too much. I am going to touch it up with some rust looking paint around the logo and some different spots around the case. I'm also going to put painter's tape down and put really defined black lines so it looks like it's a panel on the side of a vault or something like that. So I still got a long ways to go. I've probably got another 2 or 3 hours. I already got an hour and a half, 2 hours into this, and I'm liking it so far. So I'll be back in a couple hours with updated results. So guys, the panel effect that I wanted to give, I put in darker gray lines here, around here, just to give it the effect that it's a panel, multiple panels put together. Didn't turn out quite the way I like, so I used that darker color silver to give it some more accents of weathered look. It's pretty much done now. I may go back and put a coat of polyurethane in it just to seal it to make sure it doesn't get scratched and it stays the way it looks. Actually, I do like the way it looks. Especially this panel here. This panel is the perfect panel, I would say. Whereas this panel, I made a boo-boo and I took off the stickers too early, and I put too many coats of paint on this one, which made it look really really off here. So this will be the panel that's facing the wall that you won't really see, but this right here will be the show panel. Okay, you see, it's a very simple process. You know, just go on eBay, get some vinyl cutouts that you put on the back of like a car window or something that you stick to the side of it. Other than that, it's a very simple, you can do it yourself project. You don't need too much technical detail or artist skills. So I wanted the overall theme to be Fallout theme. Fallout is one of my favorite games of all time, just because what you can do with it and how interactive the game is and how immersive it is. So Fallout is definitely one of my favorite games of all time. So I wanted this computer to reflect it. And that's pretty much for the outside of the case. So let's go over the specs. So let's start off with the graphics card, because that's the first thing you see here. And this is a PNY reference design GTX 980 Ti. That's a very powerful graphics card. Actually, I wasn't good with the Titan X, but looking at the specs, looking at what I get price performance wise, the Titan X performs almost similar to this card, and this card is $400 cheaper. Take it or leave it. Now, I like the Titan X. It would look cool for bragging rights and stuff like that, but honestly, for the extra $400, I can do a lot more with it. So that's why I chose the 980 Ti. I wanted a graphics card because I play on 1080p, and right then you might want to jump through the computer screen and slap me. Why in the world would you want to play 1080p on this card? This card's made for 1440p and 4K. Well, I don't see the point of playing 1440p or 4K, and I don't personally own a monitor. I'm not about to go out and buy a 4K monitor. 1080p for me is perfectly fine. Then again, different strokes for different folks. So I'm not going to go over the technical details of this GPU. It's been out for a couple months now. There's 1,000 other YouTube videos over it. I'm just going to let you know that this thing does kick ass. Plain and simple. 1080p gaming, easy 100 frames per second. Fallout 4 I was hitting roughly 70 to 90 frames per second with everything turned on. God rates turned all the way up. And there's a reason I'm not going further than 60 to 80 frames a second, and I will get to that reason in a minute. But, so anyway, that's the GPU of my choice. Now, we flip it over to this side, and actually, I'm going to remove the side panel here. There we go. And so we'll go over something with the power supply. I have a Silverstone SFX 450 watt power supply. Good thing with the new NVIDIA 900 series is based on the Maxwell architecture and is very low power consumption. So believe it or not, this 450 watt power supply will power all of my motherboard, the peripherals, and the graphics card with roughly 70 watts remaining of headroom, which is a little less than what I really feel comfortable with, but it's plenty. This thing's made to run at 450 watts continuous power, so this power supply will be able to handle this whole load. Now, unfortunately, I got the bronze series. That was a Black Friday deal. Most of the stuff was Black Friday deals. So I've had this computer for quite a while now. But the bronze does not come in modular. It's not modular, so that's kind of a bit of a pain because I got 2 or 3 cables in here that I'm not using that would be nice to get out to clean it up. I did spend about, it looks like I just shoved it all in there, but believe it or not, the routing of the cables and stuff, I had to spend quite a while on that. I forgot how many hours I took to build this thing because I want it done right. So leaving the power supply, we'll look. I have a PNY 480 gig SSD for my boot and my games and whatnot. This is a strict gaming PC. This is not a work PC whatsoever. So 480 gigs of storage is pretty good for me because I don't have about, I don't know, maybe 10-15 games on here from Steam. So that's plenty. I still got a lot of room left on it. And so let's get to the heart of this machine, and this is why I said the PC parts in this machine doesn't really make sense, because I have a beastly graphics card and I have a wonderful AMD Athlon 860K processor, quad core. And most people would just like, what? Yeah. So the reason I went with the AMD in this one was because it was $70. It was $70 on Black Friday. Quad core processor. Yeah, it's not an i5, and yes, it's not an i7. And most of you are like, well, that's why you're not hitting above 60 or 80 frames a second on Fallout or any other games, because you have a serious CPU bottleneck. Yes, I do realize that. But I weighed the pros and cons of buying a i5 or an i7 with the new what's it called? The new not Haswell. New Skylake, there it is. I think of it in a minute. New Skylake series with the new DDR4 memory controller and the DDR4 and the new Z170 chipset. I didn't go with that because I didn't need all that raw horsepower under the hood. All I need this thing is to play games. That's it. I don't need it to do video editing. I don't need it to do much more anything else besides playing games. So I decided to majorly take a back seat, I guess you could say, and get a actually the cheapest quad-core processor out on the market thus far, brand new. I know you can find some refurbished ones out there, but brand new, this is the cheapest quad-core on the market. And under it, I have, give me one second, let me look at the, yes, this is the MSI 868 AC gaming motherboard underneath it. I was a little hesitant with going with this one because the reviews had a lot of dead on arrival motherboards, or just a bad batch of motherboards, but I've been playing now for 2 or 3 weeks on it. Not a bit of problem. No problem whatsoever, so I got lucky and got a good motherboard. And for RAM, I have 8 gigs of G-Skill Sniper 1866 megahertz RAM. That's pushing 1866 megahertz RAM. And speaking of that, my Athlon here is also hitting about 4.4 gigahertz on air. I do not recommend doing this because it does get quite hot. Matter of fact, the CPU fan is quite a bit louder than the GPU fan. But I'm going to start turning that down here since it's no need to have 4.4 gigahertz on the system. I'm probably going to turn it down to like 3.9. It comes 3.7 out of the box, which honestly is plenty for playing games, considering that what the Xbox and Xbox One and PlayStation 4 run on. It's plenty. So I'm going to go over the benchmarks, and the long discussion is, well, do I spend more money on a better CPU and then let that money I've spent for the CPU, kind of cut the money I can spend for GPU. The answer to that question is it's just what you plan on doing with it. Yes, I can get way more performance, especially at lower resolutions, if I had a better CPU. I'm actually taking a hit playing at 1080p with this quad core here, this Athlon, whereas if I was playing 4K or I was playing 1440p, the difference between this quad core Athlon and an i7 is very, very minute within a margin of error. But at lower resolutions, for whatever reason, it actually does impact performance, especially 1080p with a high power graphics card like I have. It does impact performance quite a bit. I probably should be pushing over 90, 100 frames a second if I chose to go with an i5 and i7, but I chose to take the cheaper route and take that money that I saved. Like I saved $300 or $400 by not going with an i5 and i7 and the motherboard to match it and the DDR4. I saved that much more money and I invested in a better graphics card. Then in the long run, I will be updating the CPU and motherboard and RAM because let's be honest, this GPU for 1080p should be able to last me until it dies. I'm looking probably 5 years unless something dramatically changes in the way games are handled. But I'm looking like 5 years of at least good solid 1080p performance out of this graphics card, so that's why I went with a higher one. So let's get on to the benchmarks. Now I'm not going to run any synthetic benchmarks like Firestrike. I don't want to run any like Cinebench benchmarks because those depend on the CPU, and this thing will be destroyed when it comes to CPU. I'm sorry, but this thing is not made to be a CPU intensive PC. That's why I have my iMac for my CPU intensive things. So this is just made for a sit next to my Xbox One, PlayStation 4 media gaming console. So without further ado, let's get to the benchmarks. You'll see what I'm talking about. That this thing, 1080p games, you're going to worry about for the next 5-10 years. Well, I would say 6 years. I don't know about 10 years, but 6 years at least. So without further ado, let's get on with the benchmarks. Okay, it's done. Alright, so you can see this thing dominates at 1080p. Yes, it would get a little bit more, 10 to 20 frames a second more on some games if I had a better processor, but I really don't care. I'm running at 60 hertz. My refresh rate on I did put this on my 55-inch LG TV, and my refresh rate on that is 60 hertz. Sorry, no, it's 120 hertz. But to me, the difference between 120 and 60 hertz is very negligible. I do notice it just a little bit, but not enough to be like, man, I wish I can just push that extra 60 hertz out of there. You know, 60 frames a second is fine with me. Especially on a 120 hertz TV, it's fine with me. I don't notice that much of a difference to be, like I said, to really, really want that extra 60 frames a second, or in most cases, that extra 20 to 15 frames a second. I hope you enjoyed it. I hope that the custom stuff I've done to it, like the custom paint job and things like that, kind of inspire you to be more creative on your next build. This one, I wasn't going to do anything too fancy with it. If I can get this case back on, whatever, I'll just leave it there. I wasn't going to do anything too fancy with it, but it just, last minute before I did this video, I said, you know what would be cool if I actually painted this thing to match, you know, kind of the Fallout theme. So guys, I hope you enjoyed this video. If you liked it, hit the thumbs up button. If you dislike it, hit the dislike button. And if you have any questions, always feel free to ask them in the comments. The YouTube community, there are some good people out there that will help you and help answer your questions. And I will also try to help answer the questions to the best of my ability, like I always do. So guys, until next time, stay tuned because we'll be coming up with some new content here soon. I did post my teaser. I did get a DJI Phantom 3 drone, standard edition. So that's going to open up ways for new content for the channel. And I also did partner with one of my good friends who's also into producing music, Mr. Tyler Singleton, and he is actually producing the music for us. So if you like his soundtracks, leave a thumbs up button. I will let him know that you enjoy his soundtracks. I got 5 different or 6 different soundtracks. I'm gonna try to be integrating those into different videos depending on what the video is. So guys, I hope you enjoyed it. Until next time, like always, stay geeky. Now, you couldn't do that during the video.